sure there's a bunch there right down.
There might be, and then they went into the property between part that's not developed in the interstate, we own a section there. And so I got someone in there with tents. So I don't look at that.
the garden's in the
surprisingly enough.
Yes, that's
But
what
I wasn't real nice about it either.
Oh, did you get your new toy?
What?
There? Is that your new toy?
That's my new toy.
Good evening and welcome to tonight's meeting,
Excuse me.
regular meeting of City Council. Today is August the 6th, Tuesday, 2019. The time is now 6 p.m. Regular meeting will now come to order. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Commissioner Lopez, would you please read us the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 2, approval of agenda. Do we have, council have any changes?
Yes, I'd like to recommend that we have a work session about the marijuana allocations. I think it's a lot of information to go over right now, so I would move that we table that until we can schedule a time.
When we get to that, I'm just asking for a table. We'll pick
Oh, okay.
So then can have a motion, please?
We need a roll call, Mr. Mayor.
Do we have to take a second? First and second on that?
I don't believe
I don't think so. That's why I was asking for a motion.
I'll make the motion
Second,
to approve.
Second.
call vote.
Benado,
Yes.
Goff,
Yes.
Dayco,
Those creative.
You said yes.
That is what she said, sorry.
Lopez,
Yes.
Day,
Yes.
Miles,
Yes.
Rico.
Yes. Item 3, policy items and staff reports. Item 3A, second quarter, financial report. Cheryl.
Don't worry about my keys. Good evening, Mayor, Council, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we'll be discussing the second quarter financials of 2019. On your drive, you should have received the memo to council as well as the attached spreadsheets for each fund indicating revenues and expenditures through June 2019. We'll start off with you can see these on your screens, correct? On your big screen? Okay. So we're going to start off with the general fund revenue. At this time, we have over collected by $908,000. That's related to property tax collection and marijuana tax collection. Sales tax has been, property taxes have been collected by $402,000 more than anticipated because we received those in February and April of the year. Those are our big payment months, so that'll end up tapering out through the end of the year. And then the marijuana tax, we've collected $538,000 more than anticipated. However, what's budgeted as revenue is $2.1 million because 30% of that will be moved to the reserve fund. And 30% of the $1,588,000 is $476,000, which will be reserved or moved to the reserve and not recognized as revenue. Okay? Just interesting notes about marijuana. For the second quarter of last year, we had collected $1,591,000, and through this year, it looks like $1,588,000. But we're still waiting for June's allotment from the state, which should be around $60,000 to $65,000, and we won't receive that till the end of this week. So in the end, we are ahead of the game by $57,000 or more than 2018. In 2018, we had 20 shops operating, and in 2019, through June, we have 24 shops open. Retail sales of marijuana in 2018, 24,491,000 through June of last year. And sales through June of this year, 25,894,000. So those are highlights of the general fund. As you can see, the year-to-date has been highlighted in blue, so it kind of keeps you on track of what we're discussing. Are there any other questions regarding any other revenue sources?
I like the comparisons from 18 to 19, that we asked you last time we read that.
Okay, that's good.
And so Cheryl, you expect, is it all right if I ask a question? So you expect us to be somewhere north of 3 million? I mean, we had 3.3 for 2018 actual. Are you guessing that we're going to beat that for marijuana?
Oh, yeah, I anticipate that we'll collect more.
Yeah, because it's
Yes.
hard for me to tell what's seasonal. Obviously, we'll probably get
Yeah.
receiving more in June than we do in February.
Right. I think August and September are our highest collection months, but I anticipate at least 3.3, if not more, for the 2019. Are there any other questions?
Not in the general fund.
Okay. Alrighty, so we'll move on to general fund expenditures. The items, again, in blue are year-to-date. Items in red font are items that are overexpended through the year. There's minimal over expenditures in miscellaneous, facility maintenance, and agency support. Miscellaneous includes payments for insurance claims for CIRSA. We typically get those reimbursements back. I believe we received a couple at the beginning of July. They're just not recognized yet. Also, our office supplies are overexpended, and that's a little fault of my own. We had agreed that all departments will purchase their merchandise or their office supplies through our office through Anita. And I'm supposed to increase her budget and take away from the others. I did take away from the others, I just forgot to increase Anita's. So we're a little overexpended on office supplies. Regarding facility maintenance line item, the over expenditures due to janitor encumbrances. When the janitor's contract's approved, we encumber that amount at the beginning of January. So his entire amount is recognized in January as an encumbrance. And then as it's paid out through the months, it starts to decrease.
On that miscellaneous, you said that we get a reimbursement from CIRSA. Do you know what that amount could be? Is that the total amount or?
Typically, it's less $1,000 deductible. So, and then finally, agency support. If you recall, last quarter we do pay out our agencies at the beginning of the year in January. So this also tapers down. I believe last quarter it was showing at 57,000 overspent, but it's working its way down through the months because we paid all in January.
And those agencies are?
Noah's Ark, Senior Center, Crossroads.
Ada.
Yes. Okay, public safety, fire, you'll see is overexpended, 14,000. They've had a lot of workman's comp, or people out on workman's comp, but we do also get reimbursed for that. I saw a check, I think I might have seen 2 checks come through last couple of weeks. It's not the total amount for their wages. It's, 67%, but it should start to offset. And because those people are out on workman's comp, we have other fire department employees covering and working overtime.
What kind of injuries are you looking at there? Wrists, arms, legs?
There is,
They're doing, huh?
there is an incident with the fire, I believe.
Oh, with the fire?
Mhm,
Oh,
yes.
okay,
Yes.
okay, thank you.
Mhm. And then, other than that, the only other items are Carnegie, or the library and economic development. The library received 2 extra grants, I believe in March, so she's just expending that money amount, or that amount and collecting the revenue. It's not really worth it to increase their budget because it may work itself over, but because it's encompassed in the whole general fund, she'll be okay. It's difficult to increase the line item for $7,500 in grants. And then finally, economic development, that has to do with the encumbrances again for the business rental assistance agreements that were agreed to, and we made purchase orders for all of those agreements in January, and as we're paying them out, they should start to taper down. And other than that, under general fund expenditures, we are under expended by $1,263,000. Are there any questions?
No, I guess I'm a little confused. The economic development number seems to hop around a lot. Are we comparing apples and apples? Do I look at 2018 actual 2019 budget?
2018,
I see 322
right, and we
as actual, and then I see 79,000 budgeted for the
Yes.
first half of the year.
we decreased it quite a bit. Jonathan was paid from that line item, and then also Raven.
Oh, is he still here in
Portion-
2018?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, a portion of Raven's salary was also there, and, we just decreased
Okay.
quite a bit.
So it is apples and oranges.
And there was also a portion of the land money was in that budget at one point, like 400,000.
That was 2017. Yeah, last year, the budget was only 322, or actually, I don't know. Right. Anyway, I believe Jonathan left us in I think he left before we, I don't know, right after we had already adopted the budget, so, okay. Alrighty, we'll go on to power and light. So, last quarter, I talked about power and light being one of those funds that the expenses the revenues we won't recognize until the hotter months. So the revenue, we're short in charges for services for revenue in power and light by $72,000, or is 0.9%. Through July of this year, we're only $50,000 short, so we are working our way to start probably collecting more than anticipated. For expenses, we are underexpended by 3.3%, and we're $260,000 below budget. Are there any questions for power and light?
Keep those under budget items coming, man. Come on.
Alright, so our water fund, again, another fund that recognizes its revenue in the summer months. Water charges for services were $171,000 short than anticipated, or 7.5% short. But I checked numbers through the end of July, and we're $121,000 short. So it's starting to work itself out the other direction. For expenses, we are 4.8% under budget, or $134,000 in the budget. Okay.
How much did you say we were under on?
134,000.
$134,000 below budget for operating. Regarding capital, that has to do with the grants and the metering project. So we kind of aren't measuring those with operating expenses because it kind of skews the numbers way out of control. It looks like we are underexpended by $1.9 million, but once that metering project starts going, it's gonna absorb it.
We
Okay.
brought in $160,000 of cultivation fees.
That's correct.
Where were we at this point last year? I guess I'm not seeing that.
Yeah, I don't have that.
We weren't in full swing last year doing it, as I recall.
We collected 217
Total.
total for the year, and I wanna say that those numbers started to come in October because that's when we were harvesting.
Okay.
So we were a lot. I can tell you at June, we weren't at that amount
But again,
whatsoever.
if you look at the actual, that was from the total, it was 217 last year, and
Yeah.
at this point, we're already almost 161,000, so it's,
Mhm.
Right,
we still have half a year to go.
Well, yeah, the fall.
right, and we should anticipate more because of their harvests, becoming August, September, October. We just never know. They tell us that, and then we just wait to see if it really happens.
Good to know. Thank you.
All right. For the gas fund, this is the fund that works opposite. We pay out and collect in the winter months or the end of 2018 and the beginning of 19. So we're $604,000 ahead of the game through June for gas. When I checked the figures through July, we're $401,000 ahead of the game. So it's working itself out the opposite direction. If you remember, I looked at the first quarter, we had over collected by $714,000. So it's moving in the opposite direction. It'll start tapering down, and then we'll start paying out those bigger costs in November and December. Gas purchases are exactly the same. We've paid out, we're overexpended by $119,000, but I checked the first quarter of 2019 and we were overexpended by $283,000. So it's working itself out in the opposite direction. We are overexpended in gas expenditures by almost $50,000, but again, that has to do with the gas purchases through January, February, and March. Okay. Are there any questions regarding the gas fund? And so we're on to the sewer fund. We are under collected by $46,000 or 2.6%. I did check the numbers for July and we were under collected by $15,000. So it's starting to catch up. And we are under expended in operating expenses for the sewer by $25,000.
Did we ever work out a metering system that kind of works in effect with the sewer? Because we always balanced it out. The sewer was kind of a match of the water, but not everyone that's using the sewer is, it's going to the racks. Things to that effect. Did we ever implement that? Did you discuss before, Greg?
We've talked about it, but we haven't.
By taking averages in January and February when people don't want to grab.
Those are things we've talked about, but we haven't.
Okay.
Okay, almost done. Good to know. All right. Lottery fund, we're about on track. We're $8,900 collected more than anticipated. And then we're overexpended in lottery by $14,000, but that's because most of the lottery expenses come through the summer months. So it's May through September. We'll see increased expenses and then they pretty much taper off because it includes the swimming pool, includes all the parks. So. And then tourism, we're a little under collected. The primary months for collection are actually the second and third quarter. So third quarter we should be ahead of the game in collection for tourism tax. And we are underexpended on expenses for tourism by $12,000. And then we're on to capital. So we over collected sales tax by $967,000. It's hard to say where we'll end up with sales tax, but I'm pretty sure we're gonna meet the $2,000 limit. I mean, $2 million, yes. We'll meet that threshold. We're working on, actually we've closed out most of the grants. The only one that we have open right now is the Space to Create DOLA grant, and then the CDOT, the Boulevard Addition Trail. It's taken a while to get that CDOT Boulevard Addition Trail going, but once they start chipping away at those expenditures, I'll start submitting for grant reimbursement. And that's pretty much it. Are there any questions?
Just a question, this came up a while back, how are we doing on collections now? Have they changed any, or are they still getting, utility department?
We're still struggling.
struggling?
Yeah, we are. I'm working on the ordinance change, hoping to have that on the next agenda. I'm not positive. I have to work with Mike a little to see if we should do one more workshop. And if he doesn't think so, then we'll push it forward to amend the ordinance.
Any other questions for Cheryl? Well, thanks, Cheryl.
Okay.
On to item 4, petitions or communications, oral or written. Commissioner Lopez.
Good evening, and thank you for letting me say my fifth pledge of allegiance today. Been a lot of meetings. I'm here tonight to give you an update regarding the chilly war between Mexico and Colorado. Governor Polis has contacted Chairman Paulo Zello in the past few weeks regarding this event happening here in Los Angeles County. He is aware of the grant that was given to the county through the Carl Foundation for a Kaboom build that we did at the fairgrounds, and he is aware of the grants that we're going to be going for to revitalize the entire fairgrounds after we get an engineering study done completed by the University of Colorado students, engineering students. So he recommended to her that we hold that at that facility, and then she contacted me, and I contacted the governor asking him if that's exactly what he would want to do. He said yes. However, Governor of New Mexico wants it in New Mexico. So this might not happen at all here, period. So what I am here to say is I'd like to invite the city to be part of this if it comes to fruition, and let's collaborate together to bring this festivity to highlight our community and our farmers, and it's basically an agricultural event, no political ties to it. So in the meantime, I went to the Republican Party last week, and I asked them to do that very thing, is to keep the politics out of this and include them and invite them to be a part of this. I will be doing the same thing with the Democratic Party as well, if this comes to fruition. So, as of yesterday, the word is we will find out tomorrow afternoon, sometime from the governor's office. Now, I've talked with the governor twice. He is very adamant about having it here in Los Angeles County or in the Trinidad location. So, if this comes to fruition, I would like to extend an invitation to the city council and see if we can collaborate how we can make this event county and city together. And so that's kind of where we're at. That's what I wanted to bring forward to you today, and let you know the update what we're doing. Maybe it happens, maybe it don't, but I think if we could keep this an event that is something regarding agriculture and keep the politics out of it, it'd be best for both our states, especially regarding the recall that's going on right now. So he wanted to give you an update, so thank
Just to
you.
let you know, I did talk to the chairman of the Republican Party and kind of expressed my concern about that too. So.
Okay.
Yeah, and I had heard people talk about maybe using the entertainment district as, you know, a venue for this as well. You know, maybe it could be combined something in the afternoon and then close down Main Street at night.
You know, I'm not gonna go against the governor if he's asking me to request use of fairgrounds, I'm saying, sure, whatever you wanna do, sir. You know, so that's kinda where I left it, so.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean we can't collaborate and work something out, so.
Well, when, if this does happen, let us know who is coordinating all this stuff in the county.
Yeah, immediately, as soon as we know tomorrow. So I'll be having Mr. Dorenkamp contact Mr. Sun as soon as we know. Okay?
I don't wanna be a judge. I was born in New Mexico and live in Colorado. I think I have no partisanship.
Yeah, we might just sneak in honey chili, you know? Thank you. We'll see you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 5 on consent agenda. Item A, approval of the regular meeting minutes of July the 16th, 2019. Special meeting minutes of July the 18th, 2019. Item B, approval of a special event permit, malt, vinous and spirituous, application filed by Arcade Incorporated, doing business as Art Cortopia Museum, 2702 Freedom Road on September the 14th, 2019. Do we have a representative here? Okay, she's here. Okay, great. Item C, approval of modification to the entertainment district to allow Balleruna LLC for 121 West Main Street to attach to the district. Do we have a representative from the Ballerina's here? Over here. Okay. Approval of the bills, item D, which is $1,670,405 and a nickel. Item E, approval of the payroll, August 10th, 2019 through August the 23rd, 2019. Shows 2 payroll periods. One was for 7/13 to 7/26, in amount of $351,879.91. Second payroll period was 6/29 to 7/12, was $363,467.45. The one thing I wanted to mention in there is, in the minutes, when there was a discussion concerning the PILT for the housing authority, it said that there will be a review yearly. I thought that there would be a review only if necessary. I'm not sure if anybody remembers that.
No, it's, you wanted it mandatory.
Okay, I wasn't sure, couldn't remember for sure. Okay. That being said, could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Call a vote, please.
Benada,
Yes.
Goodall,
Yes.
Young.
After good, I'll say yes.
Right, okay. I have to abstain from the approval of the regular meeting minutes of July 16th. I was not here. But I give my approval, my yes vote to the rest of the agenda.
Yes, and I make the same sentiments. I will refrain from the consent of the July 16th meeting minutes as I was not here.
Yes.
Miles?
Yes.
Freak?
Yes. Item 6, public hearings. 6A, new retail marijuana cultivation facility application filed by Rocky Mountain Tillage LLC at 36900 Almoro Road. We have, I'm not sure if Kyle, Eric, Bradley, and Nicholas Spinell are here. Okay.
Good evening, Council.
One second, please. Hearing is now open. Could you swear me? Yes. Les.
Good evening, gentlemen. Man, you guys look familiar.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, I know you're all the Spidell brothers, but would you please identify yourselves, if you would, starting from my left going over?
Yeah, it's Kyle Spidell, co-president of TJ's Global.
Eric Spinell, co-president TJ's Global.
Nick Spidell, chief information officer.
Say Nick.
Yes, sir.
And please don't move around, because I have your name, so stay right there. And gentlemen, you are, well, we're missing one, I know. I believe we're missing Bradley Spidell, is that correct? Okay, he couldn't be here this evening.
Correct.
Okay. So you are here for a retail marijuana cultivation license application, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And gentlemen, before I begin, would you tell council, please, how many licenses do you have in the city of Trinidad now, currently?
We currently have 6.
6, okay.
Yes. 4 cultivation and 2 retail.
And I won't ask you for the addresses, but how long have you been in business in the city of Trinidad? Approximately.
Approximately 3 years.
Okay. And you have previously passed your background checks, correct?
Yes.
No new developments. I know there's a bit of MED involvement, and I'm not sure. I mean, there is part of your packet. There are some disciplinary matters. I wasn't really checking the dates of those, but aside from that, no entries like on your criminal backgrounds in the last 3 years, correct?
Correct.
Or since you were last before council?
Correct.
Okay, and so Rocky Mountain Tillage LLC, and that is the corporate name. The proposed trade name would be Rocky Mountain Tillage.
Correct.
Okay, and we are talking about the address of the premises is 36900 El Moro Road in Trinidad.
Correct.
And what was there a cultivation premises there before, or is this brand new?
So the property was originally annexed by another grower. His name is Jason Lopez, and he ran an operation called Raw RX. I do not believe it was ever actually licensed. He did go through the annexation process, which allowed it to become a part of the city. But his business did not survive past that point, and we ended up purchasing the property from the original owner.
Okay. So non-licensed previously, a proposed business that didn't go through.
Correct.
And so this would be the first time it would be a marijuana cultivation premises if you're approved. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay. And gentlemen, so we're clear, you have your conditional state approval for this premises.
Yes.
And I want to ask you before I get too far ahead of myself, you've reviewed your packet, your submittal in support of your license application for this evening.
Yes.
And this is essentially, I know, the same god-awful packet you've submitted before. Kidding. But I mean, it's accurate and correct to the best of your information and belief. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and I know that I've struggled with the ownership and the various tentacles of various other LLCs, but you have a parent corporation that has various LLCs. Is that correct?
Correct. We have a holding company that acts as the regulated holding company called Beacon Holdings. Underneath of that are 3 subsidiaries. One is made for our retail operations called the Green Solution LLC. The second is our cultivation operations. It's called Rocky Mountain Tillage LLC. And the third is for our manufacturing process, which is Infusions LLC. Above that is an administrative services contract from a company called TGS Global that operates as the employment company for all of the regulated businesses.
Okay, thank you. One other thing, I mean, there were a number of things I need to ask you about, but one other thing you have in here, I believe it's a security agreement. It's a $2 million, I may not be calling it the right thing, but a $2 million like line of credit essentially. Okay, and that, I know it's in the packet and the repayment terms are in there. You have a monthly repayment, and that again is a 2-year note. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and I don't need to elaborate on that any further. So if you would please, I appreciate also the fact that you had a proposed resource consumption outline, and I am kind of jumping around and I apologize for that, but is it correct that when you're fully going, again if you're approved, that you are planning on only using 250 gallons of water per day?
Correct. So this particular facility is not, although it is a cultivation license, will be primarily used to process and dry the flower from all of our properties to the south. So if everyone can remember, the last time we were here, we actually applied for 4 independent cultivation licenses on Republic Road. And we developed each one of those lots into their own independent cultivation facility. Each one of those has a greenhouse on it. They currently grows roughly 6,000 plants per season, of which right now we have 24,000 total plants outdoors. And so one of the challenges of the last few years that we've been operating that facility was that the amount of biomass that's created from the fields could not be dried within the greenhouses without risking a loss because of the October 15th freeze. And so last year was one of the earliest freezes in history. It was actually October 13th. Fortunately, we got all of our plants out, but had our harvest been the size of it is today, we would have probably lost half of the field. So we took measures to purchase the land to the north of us to allow a cultivation facility, and we will actually be transporting and manifesting the field crops up to that facility, secure it within that enclosed space, and dry it there, package it securely and safely for distribution throughout the state.
If approved, what portion of this cultivation area would be an indoor grow and what percentage would be an outdoor grow?
So no, none of it will be an outdoor grow. It will only be used as an indoor grow because of growing mother plants. So the process for this facility will be in the October-November months. It will be used as drying and processing for the marijuana from the fields. And then it will transition through the winter months into the mother stock that will eventually be cloned and create the next year's field crop. And so we'll have a minimal amount of plants actually indoors, only for a small period of time throughout the year, and the remainder of the year will be used for training for employees, as well as housing the production facility for the outdoor fields.
How many employees would you hope to utilize if you're approved for this operation?
So this particular facility will have probably between 5 and 10 people at it year round. But as you probably know, to the south, we have roughly 20 or 25 people that are there year round on the other fields.
Okay.
They tend to be greenhouses.
So, gentlemen, I want to ask you, I mean, you guys now have a tremendous investment in the local marijuana industry. I mean, you guys, you have a lot of money, a lot of resources. So that leads me to a series of points that I want to make with you. One is, obviously you all have a knowledge of the Colorado and Trinidad retail marijuana codes, fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. And you understand that you're responsible for everything to do with your operations in terms of lawful compliance. You understand that?
Yes.
And we've had issues, in our marijuana industry about renewals and when renewals are due, whether or not you can have marijuana product, again, if you're approved, prior to the issuance of the local license. You understand you're responsible for those things. In this instance, you can't have marijuana product unless and until you have your license in hand. But all those things you're completely responsible for. You understand that?
Yes.
And likewise, compliance with all the municipal officials. I know I've asked you that now a number of times, but you agree to comply with all city officials, correct?
Yes.
In the conduct of your business and everything that you need to do and all the information that we need, fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. And if you run afoul of the Trinidad laws, you understand that your licenses can be revoked.
Yes.
Okay. So I want to ask you, and I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but your landlord is JBT Ventures LLC, correct?
Correct.
And who, if I might inquire, who is the owner of JBT Ventures LLC?
His name is Jack Thompson.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Jack Thompson.
Okay. And I just ask because I didn't see it in the companies that you own. You guys do not own the premises, correct?
Correct. We are
okay. And you have, and sometimes they'll lease from a corporation that they also own.
Sure.
But that's why I asked. right now you only have a 1-year lease, I believe, with an option to renew on a monthly basis, also an option to buy, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Can you tell us, is it your intention to purchase the premises?
Yes, it's already under contract. It's, we're working on it as we speak.
Okay. And so that is something that may happen in the future, is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. Is there anything you want to, well, how many of your operations, your licenses, and how many licenses do you hold in the state of Colorado? Let me ask you that.
So we hold 66 licenses, 33 of which are city and 33 of which are state. That does not include today.
Okay.
And so majority of those, of course, are retail stores. We have 4 independent cultivation facilities and 1 manufacturing facility.
Okay. And you have you have a cultivation facility, I believe, in Pueblo?
No, we have all
Okay,
3
that's
are
right.
together,
That's right. Okay. But you have that number of licenses currently in the state of Colorado.
Correct.
Okay. Is there anything you want to tell council that I haven't asked you about, like any kind of novel approach to this? Anything you know?
Sure.
Anything? Go ahead.
Yes, so as I was mentioning, this is a pretty unique property and kind of the support structure it facilitates for the southern grow. We have at this point employed over 25 people in the city of Trinidad just on our cultivation side. I believe it's the excess of another 20 more that are on our retail side. And we picked Trinidad early on as a city that we wanted to be continuing a long-term development process with. We chose that for a couple of reasons. One is that we have got to know the city staff very, very well and feel that it is, we see eye to eye on the initiatives of what we're trying to do with our business and the goals of the city and the growth of it. And then additionally, we felt that it was a huge opportunity for both sides of the spectrum to advance the development of where Trinidad is today. And so we plan to continue to grow this facility for many years to come. We currently have 4 licenses that we're growing on, cultivating on currently, but we are actually embarking on a master subdivision process for this entire parcel of land, where we are hoping to add an additional 9 licenses to this stretch of land. So our goal is to develop all 140 acres of it. So we are looking forward to continuing this endeavor with the council and the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Okay. Gentlemen, if approved, when would you hope to begin operating?
So we are targeting October 1st. The current phasing of the process is really what we consider licensing phase, so the ability to dry and process the product itself, and then we will be moving into a more broad construction phase where we'll be adding some additional grow lights to house the mother plants, etc. And we'll be doing that in 2 stages, and we've been working with the city staff on the building side to accomplish that.
Okay. Last few questions, and I want to ask you, you understand that if we have a drought, if we experience water austerity, you guys are really kind of, in the overall scheme of things, for a city, you're kind of a lower need. In other words, you understand you may be cut off in times of water austerity.
Yes.
Okay. And I have no other questions. Mayor, council, and turn it over to you.
Joe, any questions?
I just have one. With such a big facility that you guys are gonna run out there, you said you're only gonna use 250 gallons a day of water. How is that possible and what?
And yeah, and that's just for that particular facility. So because that facility is only housing the mother plants and it's only growing them for a very short period of time, we actually predict it'll be less than that most of the year, probably 10 months of the year. And the 2 months that we actually grow the mother plants, we only have about 250 to 500, and they take between a half a gallon and a gallon a day. So very small, that would be a very small cultivation operation.
You The only other thing I have to ask you, I gotta tip my hat to you guys, cause you're working hard, it seems like you're doing a good job. But to me, how many more can marijuana stuff can that handle? Curious question mark. That's not a question directed to you.
Sure.
That's just a question that people have been asking me, how many more we need, Mr. Kamalo? I don't think we need any more.
Sure. And
So you know,
Yeah.
so my personal opinion how that is, you guys worked with me before,
Sure.
and that's the way I look at it, but.
Sure, yeah, I mean, the way we've kind of looked at it as, you know, kind of how Coors is to Golden, we consider ourselves hopefully what you consider us to Trinidad, in the future. And we plan to bring hundreds and hundreds of jobs over the years, particularly on the cultivation side. You know, the agricultural industry, from Pueblo really down to Trinidad, has been somewhat dying over the years, and it's been revitalized to some degree by marijuana. And we are actually working very heavily at the legislature, actually with Governor Polis and the rest of the legislature, to help bring in a lot of the migrant workers that are not allowed to be in this industry. There's tons of barriers to entry in relation to vetting them on criminal backgrounds and taxes and back child support, you name it. So it's a huge deterrent. So we're working to kind of bridge that gap, allow more to, from a workforce perspective, to join what the marijuana industry is becoming. Now, that's again on the agricultural side. When you say the retail side, you know, Trinidad's obviously a very small city, and the per capita of retail stores is quite high, so I can't defend that.
I know. Thank you, boys.
Rusty.
So I've always been in full belief as times change that you're gonna have to have cultivation to survive in this business. So I think y'all have taken an initiative that's needed to survive in the industry. I like the fact that y'all are very well supportive of the community in different events and stuff. And who's the Marines? Thank you for your service. And thank you for your support in the local events and stuff happening in town, and good luck with your adventure.
Appreciate it.
I don't have any questions. I'll just make the observation that we did put a moratorium on conditional use permits, but we're still working off those conditional use permits that were.
Same one.
What?
Yes.
Yeah, until the conditional use permits go below 20, there will be no more conditional use permits, so. But I have no more questions.
No, I want to commend you, gentlemen, for, you know, taking an initiative for the cultivation aspect that really is what sustains your retail sales, and for selecting Trinidad and to potentially have 9 more grow operations here, I think is substantial for helping our community with jobs. So thank you.
Appreciate that.
Sure.
I think from what I've seen on your application, you're a very well organized company, and I think if Trinidad is going to survive, because we all know marijuana, once it takes off in the rest of the country, the retail sales might go down. But it's always been my belief that cultivation facilities are going to be a mainstay in this country. One thing we have a lot of is land.
Yep.
So I wish you the best of luck, and I want you to work on something. See if you can put chili with pot. I bet you we can win that chili.
Got it.
Challenge New Mexico.
They can't come up with that. No, I'm just kidding. I think it's great.
Thank you.
Everybody has an editorial copy, and now you're gonna get mine.
Yeah.
In the position that I've been in, when marijuana first became a consideration, the fear that struck in everyone's heart was a bunch of head shops with a number of stoners standing in front of it, deteriorating our city. And that almost could happen, but it hasn't, and it didn't. You represent the business entity of what is now a legal product, and how we can benefit government and private. And it's very professionally presented, professionally managed, and thank you for your efforts.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
I do have some questions, and I say thank you for your considerable investment in the community. One thing I want to mention, and that you guys had an outstanding tax liability for the Department of Revenue.
Yeah, that was,
Has that been?
yes, yeah, we've had, mishaps along the way where we've gotten behind at one point in time. One thing that you may not know about the industry is that we are extremely strapped for, capital, so we don't have legislation that we finally just passed, but for the last decade, we haven't. So we've gone through ups and downs as a business as we've expanded, so at one point in time, we did get behind a month and then we got caught back up, so, that's all been rectified.
So that large amount was pretty sizable. and
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
that's been taken care of.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. And I don't think that this is an issue, but this is a question for Audra actually. And on page 113 of your affirmation and consent, just out of curiosity, it looks like maybe a couple of those signatures are the same signature, the same person signed it. The dating on it shows all the same. I don't know if that would be an issue.
Mayor, what document are you looking at?
It's on page 113.
Yeah, my numbers, or my pages aren't numbered.
Okay, and it's under the affirmation and consent for Kyle Spidell.
Affirmation consent. I'm not sure what document.
You gotta come on, right? I've got it up.
Yeah,
there.
sure,
Yeah.
sure.
It does look like it's.
Yeah, I know you directed your question to Audra, but
So you're talking about, you look at the dates, they all look like you're signed by the same person. This person's a different signature, but these two are the same signature, like same person signed it. The
Right.
first person, I'm not sure.
and you know, Mayor, I will tell you, it looks to me like that is Kyle, that is Eric, and that is Bradley.
Okay, they look real
Yeah.
similar, and I just thought it might be.
You're twins, correct?
Yeah, 2 things to note, we are twins, and are actually,
Yeah.
somehow our signatures are close. One other thing is we sign so many documents, every day we sign hundreds, so, we kind of just get the same, I guess outcome.
As of 7/16 of this year, the property was not ready for inspection, and it showed that there was no permit on file. Has that been remedied?
We're talking about the 36900
Yes.
property. Yeah, so we have not pulled a permit yet. We are still in, we submitted, I think, July 6th. It was right after the 4th of July, and so we are still waiting on that permit, but it's a relatively small scope.
And we've been working with Dan regularly.
Okay, so the application has been filed.
Correct, yes.
Also, you show that you have several surrendered licenses in the past. What was the reason for surrendering them, and how long were some of these in business before you surrendered those licenses?
Most of them were us just removing portions of the business that we don't operate anymore, because we basically made a decision back in around 2015 where we were going to consolidate the business to only recreational, because as we have 66 licenses, if we were to have medical in every location, we would have double that. And because of that, it logistically and regulatory compliance-wise, it was impossible to manage the business. So we essentially collapsed majority of that, surrendered many licenses as far as medical went. And then a few other instances in there that we had worked through that were licenses or locations that we weren't granted for some reason. These were applications that were submitted, for example, like Thornton, you had to actually file the location and surrender it. There's a few other instances that were similar like that, if we didn't win the merit-based system, so.
I'd like to, this is just for you to know that I recognize this. On 8/29 of 18 in Fort Collins, they had filed a thing to revoke or suspend, and I guess that was clear from what it looked like.
Yeah,
That
it was.
particular license.
Yeah, you're saying it was rectified?
Yes, from what I understand.
Yes, it was, yes.
Just wanted to-
And
Well, you know that
Nick
I
can probably speak a
recognize
little
that.
more to that if you want to.
So, in Fort Collins, we did have an issue. It was a camera system, so brand new store. And what had happened was,
Oh, I think you were talking about the licensing side. Were you talking about the
I
licensing?
can't remember which ones, I just saw
Yeah,
that.
that's really on the licensing.
Yeah.
so, okay. Sorry,
You can tell them.
So in Fort Collins, we did have one issue where we had the store was newer. We had the camera system, and what was happening is in the camera system, in the live view, it was fluid and felt fine. But if you went back into the recordings, every once in a while it had a skip. and we had an issue out front of our store where it, not on our property, it was across the street, and the officer had asked us to, well, we actually had volunteered the footage to say that, hey, we might have a camera on that, and when we went back, we saw that the footage had a skip in it, and so they had talked to the city marijuana enforcement about that issue, and they gave us a violation for that. So since we were able to dig into the issue and find out that it was, as I see you guys have recently installed a new audio video system here, we had gone with a new prototype audio video system that was causing an IP conflict that was sporadically causing a broadcast storm and taking a bunch of the bandwidth between the cameras and the system. So we eliminated that system there, installed an entirely new system, and installed a second analog system there. So there's a backup, and a backup system in that facility now. So.
The only other thing I was, everybody is into the medical or the recreation of this, just to throw something out at you. I wish that one of these days somebody would come up with research and development. That's something that
And we
you might consider one of these days.
Well, we actually, and we don't hold an R&D license, but we actually do considerable research and development. We have actually our original cultivation facility in Denver. We worked hard to re-engineer it so that we could breed and create backstock for the company, but most importantly, really define new genetics. A lot of those genetics actually come down here to Trinidad because we're breeding them for outdoor growing specifically, because we built the company really around indoor cultivation, artificial environments, and then we put them outside, and the last few years we realized that's not the best way to do things. So we've actually been breeding them specifically for outdoors, but we haven't gotten to the fact of like real strong research yet, but certainly something on the horizon that we can explore. So
as a matter of fact, the property that you purchased, the original owners, not the original owners, but who they sold to, were talking about research and development.
Yeah, sure.
That's all the questions. These are all the questions I have. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your time, Council.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Anyone in the audience to speak for the application? Or against the application? Not? Hearing is closed. Any reason for an executive session that council can think of? Okay. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any other discussion? Call vote?
Bernardo,
No.
Goodall,
Yes.
Yes.
Lopez,
Yes.
Yes.
Miles,
Yes.
Rico.
Yes. And in the findings, just out of curiosity, you'll notice that the road was misspelled. It was spelled R-A-O-D. I caught that. Want to read the findings?
I do. This matter came on for a hearing on the application of Rocky Mountain Tillage LLC at 36900 Elmore Road in Trinidad, Colorado for a retail marijuana store license before the City Council of the City of Trinidad, acting in its capacity as a local licensing authority on August 6, 2019 in the City Council chambers at City Hall. The City Council having reviewed the application and supporting documents, report to the city clerk and other city staff, evidence of the hearing and testimony taken during the hearing makes the following findings. 1. The application is complete, signed by the applicants, and the applicants have paid the appropriate application and license fees. 2. The application appears to be in substantial compliance with all of the requirements of Article 11, Chapter 14 of the Trinidad Municipal Code. The applicants have testified to their willingness to comply with any and all areas of said article whereby compliance is at this time cannot be attained fully or substantiated. 3. According to the testimony of the applicants, the application does not contain any material misrepresentations. Stand by. Sorry. Okay. Okay, the proposed marijuana business complies with the applicable zoning regulations. The city council finds that based on the testimony of the applicant, the building in which the proposed marijuana business will be located will conform with the Trinidad City codes, including the zoning code and the international codes adopted by the city. The Spidell brothers, Kyle, Eric, and Nick, testified in favor of granting the license. No other persons testified in favor of or in opposition to granting the license. The applicant, through the facts and evidence adduced as a result of the city's investigation and testimony provided, has made a prima facie showing that the applicant owners are of good moral character, and any employees of this entity will likewise be of good moral character. According to the city clerk's report, there are currently 64 medical and retail marijuana licenses overall approved within the city of Trinidad, with 30 ownerships at 38 addresses. Based on the evidence presented in the hearing and the investigative materials provided for the hearing, the city council finds that the location of the business is appropriate, that the applicant owners are of satisfactory moral character, and that there's a willingness by the applicants to fully cooperate with the officials of the city of Trinidad in the operation of this business. Therefore, the city council of the city of Trinidad, Colorado, as the local marijuana licensing authority, hereby approves and grants a retail marijuana cultivation facility license at 36900 El Morro Road in Trinidad, Colorado. The issuance of said license shall be withheld until a certificate of occupancy is issued by the building official, and upon absolute confirmation of compliance with all the codes adopted by the city of Trinidad. The licensee is not permitted to possess or have any product in advance of this license being issued.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I want to say thank you for having this read 427 pages.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go on to
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Please go ahead.
6B, public hearing for consideration of an ordinance amending Chapter 7, Finance and Taxation, 7-47.1-1 of the Code of the City of Trinidad, Colorado, for the purpose of revising the requirements of membership in the Tourism Board of the City of Trinidad, Colorado. Hearing is now open. Greg, do you have any information on that?
This change was suggested by Councilmember Corrego to attract more people to the board. Right now, the limitations that are in the current ordinance make it difficult at times to find people qualified to serve.
Any questions from council that you come up with?
I just want to make sure that we're talking about the second condition says that you have to be involved in a business in the city of Trinidad, in the tourism trade. Well, it says tourism or
business related.
Or tourism, yeah. But tourism related business or industry. Tourism is a fairly limited term. So industry is part of tourism. Yes. Okay. That's what we need to know.
Rusty?
Nothing.
Okay. Anyone in the audience to speak for the ordinance change or against? Close. Motion. Second reading on second reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 7 Finance and Taxation 7-47.1-1 of the Code of the City of Trinidad, Colorado, for the purpose of revising the requirements of membership in the Tourism Board of the City of Trinidad, Colorado. Have a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any further discussion? Huh? Call a vote, please.
Goodall,
Yes.
Goodall,
Yes.
Yes.
Lopez,
Yes.
Yes.
Miles,
Yes.
Rico.
Those last three kind of tough, huh?
Yeah. The voice just gives out in Korea. Just gives.
Item C, public hearing for consideration of an ordinance submitting a proposed home rule charter amendment to the voters of the City of Trinidad at regular municipal election to be held on Tuesday, November the 5th, 2019, which would designate the City of Trinidad municipal landfill as an enterprise. Hearing is now open. Greg, do you have anything you need to add to that?
This proposal is just to treat the landfill as an enterprise similar to the other utilities, electric, water, sewer, and gas.
Has council come up with any additional questions for that? None? Karen?
Is this a way that may ease feasibility for, say, composting or things like that? Is this
It guarantees that all of the revenues that are produced by the operation stay with the operation. And it's very easy to communicate.
But nothing that will potentially enhance a situation that we don't have right now.
We could, but this doesn't have anything to do with doing that necessarily.
Okay.
Just one question, this doesn't have anything to do with any, like, privatizing anything in
No.
the city?
This is
There's
operating
no-
it just like the water utility, electric utility.
It's not like sewer down there, or what do you call it? Heard that.
Yeah, this is just to make it a separate, this is just to make it a separate utility.
Okay.
I think it gives it greater standing
I think it does.
in what it's intended to do, rather than be the dumps. It has, seriously, it has the proposition of being a landfill, a bona fide enterprise worthy of consideration and treatment unto its own.
Like, the only question I ask is that the city don't move to any sort of direction where we try to privatize anything. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, that would be a whole.
That's all I'm asking.
That's a whole different deal.
That's a whole
Well,
different issue.
go one way or the other.
Because what would happen, Joe, is that, you know, if that were to happen at all, it would have to go to a vote of the people anyway. That would be the only way. The same thing with all the other utilities. That's the only way. Anyone in the audience to speak for the ordinance change? Or against? Change closed. Item C1, second reading of an ordinance submitting a proposed home rule charter amendment to the voters of the city of Trinidad at the regular municipal election to be held on Tuesday, November the 5th, 2019, which will designate the city of Trinidad municipal landfill as an enterprise. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Second?
Any other discussion? If not, call vote.
Benado?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
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 Miles?
Yes. Item D, public hearing for consideration of an ordinance to extend the 1% sales tax originally authorized by vote of the people on November the 4th, 1980, and extended by vote of the people in 1991, 1996, 2002, 2008, and 2014, and to provide for dedication of the revenue from such tax to capital projects, purchases, and maintenance. Hearing is now open. Audrey, I don't think you want to speak on that too much, but Greg, anybody have any information on that?
This is the capital improvement sales tax. It is up for renewal officially at the end of 2020. And we are just trying to get ahead of it now, put it before the voters this year, rather than waiting until the end.
And just for information, is if it goes through, this would expire at 2026. Or it's for 6 years. Okay. Council have any questions?
Nope.
No?
No.
Okay. Anyone in the audience to speak for the ordinance? Okay. Or against? Opposed? Item D1, second reading of an ordinance to extend the 1% sales tax originally authorized by vote of the people on November the 4th, 1980, and extended by vote of the people in 1991, 1996, 2002, 2008, and 2014, and to provide for dedication of the revenue from such tax to capital projects, purchases, and maintenance. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Other than to recognize that they will expire if it's voted on 2026. Call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes. Item E, public hearing for consideration of an ordinance submitting to the voters of the city of Trinidad to extend the 1% sales tax originally authorized by vote of the people on November the 4th, 1980, and extended by vote of the people in 1991, 1996, 2002, 2008, and 2014, and to provide for dedication of the revenue from such sales tax to capital projects, purchases, and maintenance. Hearing is now open. I don't think you have anything else, Greg, so.
This is the action that actually.
Right, this is the action item.
Ballot.
Any questions from council?
Nope.
No? Anyone in the audience to speak for the ordinance change consideration? Or against? Hearing is closed. Like I said, it expires on 2026. Second reading of an ordinance submitting to the voters of the city of Trinidad to extend the 1% sales tax originally authorized by vote of the people in November the 4th, 1980, and extended by vote of the people in 1991, 1996, 2002, 2008, and 2014, and to provide for dedication of the revenue from said sales tax to capital projects, purchases, and maintenance. Could I have a motion? Second.
Second.
Any further discussion? Which would expire on 12/31/2026. Call vote, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, we have no unfinished business. On to item 8, miscellaneous business. 8A, engineering agreement for the Santa Fe Trail project. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Tom?
Mayor, members of council, I'm presenting tonight on behalf of Mike Valentine. He prepared this, but what this amounts.
down.
Well, okay, what we're doing, this is to authorize the design and engineering for the project from this side of Adam Road down to the bump on Santa Fe Trail where the concrete and asphalt changing. It includes sidewalks, taking hopefully some of the banking out of the Talladega turn there to come down the hill, keep people from falling down it. Water line, sewer line, and ADA compliance down through the shop.
Council have any questions? Yes.
I'm not sure, where's Adam Road, how far up the hill is it?
It's the first actual intersection that goes towards what used to be old Trinidad Road. Sorry.
It's the street down below where you turn off to go into the,
Yeah. Just past Mr. Valentine's driveway, but I didn't say that. Okay.
Well, always yes.
A little past.
Aaron?
No questions.
Do they have a time frame around when they want to start this and when it'll be completed?
Not yet, no, this is all design, we've got, are you talking about the design phase or the?
The design phase.
Design phase, I believe, was 120 days, if I saw correctly in their deal, their promotion. So,
Okay.
and usually it's half that, but I mean, it just depends on whether they're busy as everybody else is right now. They're ready to go, actually, when we give them the green light, I think, moving on.
No questions?
Nothing.
No?
No, sir.
The question I have on this is, once it's approved, or once the design is approved and brought forward, I guess, for the cost, the actual cost. My concern has always been with the time frame of moving these projects along. And I think that's something that we need to really work on, is once we give approval, that it starts, as soon as possible afterwards. Because sometimes we're waiting months and months and months for projects to start. And I'm getting some heat from some citizens saying, understandable, projects, we need to see some action on this.
Things move slower than we like them to.
So anyway, thank you, Tom. And like I said, this was for professional services with GMS, which goes from Adams Street to First Street, and not to exceed $60,800.
Can I ask one question, Mr. Mayor?
Right ahead.
Is this gonna solve our water leak up there? Or is
No.
this good?
This is totally outside of that project. That project is in design phase right now. We're final design. for
So that project's gonna go first before this comes in?
Yes, but while we have the intersection of Adams and Santa Fe Trail tore up, we're hoping to continue with this and not do it twice. Basically,
Yeah,
what we're
that's all.
doing. That's what
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Call the roll, please.
Yes.
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 Just point.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll take it easy on you.
14.
Everyone said
Is
yes.
anybody opposed?
That's right. Thank you.
Any opposed? Okay. Item 8B, resolution authorizing expenditure of marijuana revenue received by the city of Trinidad.
I'd like to make a motion that we table this item for discussion at a work session in the future.
Need a motion to table?
Yes, I need.
Yeah. Okay,
I'll
second?
second.
Okay. Any discussion? Not, call a vote?
Yes.
Goodall.
Yes.
Craig.
Yes.
Lopez.
Yes.
Matei.
Yes.
Miles.
Yes.
Rico.
Yes. Item 8C, first reading of an ordinance establishing the Space to Create Commons Oversight Board as a municipal board and setting the hearing date for consideration of said ordinance to August the 20th, 2019 at 6 p.m. Have someone to introduce, please?
I'll introduce.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Mr. Matei?
No, sir.
Okay, Jared? Carlos?
No.
Okay. Call vote, please.
Goodall.
Yes.
Goodall.
Yes.
Craig.
Yes.
Lopez.
Yes.
Matei.
Yes.
Miles.
Yes.
Rico.
Yes. The one thing I wanted to mention is that, make sure that they are under the impression that they shall operate under the same rules and regulations of all other cities and boards. That's something that they have to be aware of.
I also want to point out that this is what we collectively with the Creative District Board calling the name of the community space is the Space to Create Commons. So I just want to make sure you know that it's the same space.
Is there any action going on over there now?
Oh, yeah.
In terms of building, yeah, I
There's a
sent
lot.
out a whole bunch of pictures to you because there's they spent the first 2 months working in the basement stabilizing the foundation. There were places the joists for the first floor came 6 feet from the wall and just stopped. So I don't know what was holding up the first floor for a long time.
And they finally got back on track with the Elm Street project too. They had held up a little bit, so they're.
But that will cause a delay in that project. They're now projecting the main building to be done in May and the Elm Street one to be done in July next year.
So I said 18 months. Not 12 months like they projected.
No, they're projecting 12 months still.
From when?
Well,
Good boy.
May to May.
May to May.
They've had some issues down at Elm Street
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
the water that
They
we've
put in
got.
a huge retaining wall in there.
Yeah.
Okay. On to make the consideration of renewal contract with lobbyist Debbie Wagner. A motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion, Mr. Matei?
Greg and I visited a little bit about this during one of our meetings, and the thought was, do we have any direct benefit from her as a lobbyist? Probably not so much in the traditional sense, but she does keep us apprised of things that are of value to us. And that's probably having that information available to us as we really can. So that, when considered in that context, I think I would support it.
Sure.
I'm the opposite of what Mr. Matei feels or thinks. I was watching Miss Wagner when she was making her presentation, and all the documentation, everything she gave us was either from the CML site or from the state of Colorado site. And I'm thinking when she presented that information to us, we've got double services. Our membership in CML, that is our political advocate.
Correct.
Okay. Do we have people within CML that we can contact or have a direct line to that live beside you?
Yeah. And
I
even the
mean-
mayor being on the policy board.
Okay, we have 2 members of council that are on that, on the CML, one of the CML boards, and I don't believe, $30,000 is a lot of money for her to dole out information from us that she got, online. And when we asked her questions regarding information or what's happening, I'll have to check with CML. She said that about 5 times.
That's true. I do remember that now.
Yeah. So that's, I'm opposed to the renewal of the contract. Yeah, I'm through.
I'm of the same sentiments as Ms. Criego. I think that we could spend that money in another area. I do like Ms. Wagner, don't get me wrong. I think she's a very nice lady and she's done well, but in terms of getting legislation that we need specifically for Trinidad, that's not something that she's done. She's basically just notified us of legislation that has occurred that may affect us. But yet, if we wanted to do that, we could do that on our own by just going through the legislation. Well, also, the thing is, though, is are we going to spend $30,000 to have someone tell us what we should do on our own accord. I mean, we should be looking into these things as a proactive board. We can go through CML's website and just print them all out. We can go through them as time goes after the legislative session. So I agree with Ms. Corrego.
I was here when we didn't have a lobbyist, and I think it was Gabe England who insisted that we, or recommended that we bring a lobbyist on. And I can remember going to the Capitol for whatever, rural legislative days, and just being taken around by the hand by Debbie Wagner and introduced to people. People like from the Senate, I think she introduced us to the Secretary of State at one point. I think she does have a function. And I know that we just didn't do it when we didn't have Debbie. In other words, I don't know who's gonna be in charge of, anyway, that's trusting.
I'm all for renewing the contract. Again, the time when we spent at the Capitol, when she's there serving us hand in foot, taking us around everywhere we need to go, constantly following up any information we need, any things that we need kept track of. I think she does a good job. I'm in support of this.
Oh.
Just hearing what Michelle and the rest of you were saying there, and how she presented herself that day, it's like balancing acts. It's like Karen said, she had a lot of questions in CML, and then how with Rusty saying how the support was when we went to Denver. So it's kind of 50-50 my way, but $30,000 we can use somewhere else.
You know, my personal feeling is I'm in favor of it. The reason being is, you know, in my 3.5 years, I had the opportunity many times to meet with her, especially when I go to Denver. And any time that I go to Denver and I want to meet a state legislator, or we need to set up meetings with, whether it's the governor or the Senate president or any other senator or House of, you know, the Speaker of the House, which we've done that through her. She has all those connections to be able to sit down and give us that time to talk with her. So, you know, I feel that she does provide, it seems like maybe it's a lot of money, but I mean, if we want to develop some sort of legislation here in Trinidad, she will help us to prepare that legislation, and she will try to find either a Senate person or a House of Representative person to carry that bill. But it's up to us to say we would like to have this bill at the State House. So, you know, it's up to us to create some of those opportunities as well. So that's the reason why I feel like she's, to me, she's been very good, and she has helped me a lot many times when I go to Denver to take me around the Capitol, introducing me to people all over the Capitol.
Now, may I ask a question?
Sure.
As active as you are and Carlos are at the state capitol, don't you think that you have developed those relationships enough to the point where you wouldn't need a third party to do?
Not necessarily. I'll tell you the reason why is there are always new incoming legislators and senators that she knows. And she not only knows these senators, but she has a very good rapport with some of the staff. And some of the staff has rolled over from one senator or legislator to another. So, and that's usually where you try to get stuff done, is through the staff. It's not through the senator or the legislator. So, you know, I think it's going back to, I think it's up to us if we want to create some kind of legislation.
Well, I've got one more.
Go ahead.
May I have gone to 3 of the 4 legislative days since I've been in this chair. Not everyone's always able to attend, I get that, but I wasn't able to go to the last one this January. How many people of us went to the legislative days this past year?
I don't remember.
I think you went.
I did, yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure that we are taking advantage of having that if we're going to pursue, you know, this contract, because if we just have someone come and kind of spoon feed us what they think we need to hear, we need to take a more proactive stance in going to these legislative days, so that way it's not just one person that
You can
goes.
always go. I think I've been the last 3 times, but before that, no.
And I've only known it since I came in, because when Gabe acted in that manner to get us one, and well, I was new, so I was attending everything I possibly could, I'm not gonna lie. This last year I just had a conflict, but I would recommend that whoever sits in these chairs for the next coming years, that that be stressed that we attend these things, because
Yes.
it's one thing if we just have the connection, it's how do we use that connection? And if we don't take a proactive stance in that, then we're just relying on them to give us what they think is good for us.
And I'll tell you this, is that there have been numerous times just this year that I've called her up for information, and either she has it right then there or she gets it to me, so I think she's a valuable resource.
Just one comment.
Sure.
Her specialty is health initiatives. So as long as you know that, her lobbyist field is health initiatives. And I don't feel Trinidad needs that.
Well, we do, and I'll be honest with you, the reason why is that, when we were talking about this Senate Bill 1, which is the part of the House, and that was the opioid bill. And that is something, as a matter of fact, we've had discussion with county commissioners about trying to develop some legislation. And I know Felix Lopez, Commissioner Lopez is the person that's in charge of that. But he would know. She would have the ideal connections if we were to follow through with making some kind of legislation for that particular Senate Bill 1. And that's something that Greg and I have been in on a meeting talking about that. Any other questions? Call vote, please.
You want me to do it?
All right. Renato,
The last time you called my name like that, I thought I was in trouble. Yes.
Goodall,
Yes.
Riego,
No.
Lopez.
No.
McKay,
Yes.
Miles. Yes. Rico,
Yes.
5-2.
On to item 9, council reports. Mr. Bernardo.
I don't have nothing to report, Mr. Rico.
Okay. Yes.
I do not believe I have anything to report this week.
I don't have much, but I did go to my first chapter board meeting.
How'd that go?
Yeah.
It was really interesting, very, very engaging group, and we get along real well, and they're very solicitous, and very, very, very nice people.
Well, I was gonna tell you, that article that came out, your credentials are very impressive. Carlos.
I don't have too much. I do want to actually give a kudos to the city of Canyon City. I went rafting this past weekend, and the pullout where you get your boat out, they have this little city park right there. And I really thought that they have done a good job with their city parks, and I think that's something that Trinidad could try to emulate if we ever have something more flourishing on our river. Maybe not for rafting, but for tubing at least, or other recreational capabilities. They had tennis courts, they had a pavilion for families to have birthdays, and a large parking lot, which was very well maintained. And I just thought it was really nice, and I think that's definitely something that we can emulate in the future, just because of the growth that we're having. And I highly recommend if anyone has an opportunity to go up there and check it out. It's at the confluence where you pull up.
Any pictures?
No, you can't when you're going through water like that.
A good photographer could.
They had some people posted
Really?
up on the rocks, I
That's
think, but I didn't get those. Secondly, I did have a citizen concern about Central Park's walkway, or the bike path. There's a lot of cracks in it, and if we can get something addressed down there, I don't know if it's like a hot patch or a sealant of some sort, but I guess someone was walking a stroller and baby kind of went out. So if we could just take a look at that, I'm sure it might have been one. They made it out like maybe the baby just leaned forward. I don't know. I'm just going off of what I was told. But if we can get something addressed, that would be nice. And that's all that I have this time.
Sure.
I have no report. I have to apologize because I haven't been doing my duties with my other boards. I have health issues right now. If you hang with me 3 more weeks, I'll promise to do it. I'm not promising you.
Well, I did attend the Starburst Award, and I was with Karen and Phil, you were there.
It was nice. It was interesting.
It was nice. It was rewarding to see the recognition that we get for the proactive stance we are taking in trying to help ourselves. And it was a good thing. I remember the night when the first presentation was made, I was really overwhelmed with the whole idea of this, it sounds like a Charlie Brown cartoon, when the parents talk, wow, wow, wow. You know, but now it all made sense to listen to it, and it was nice. The one comment I had in the prizes given, I had my ticket, number 17.
Everything you
And they picked, you were there, right? They picked
Yeah.
2 ahead of me, one below me. What? That's the way it goes. So anyway, it was a nice affair. Just this morning at the courthouse, as I was walking in, someone commented about the number of raccoons that are around town and the havoc they're wreaking. Is that an issue or something that's been brought to our attention?
One time to me.
You know, there's at least one family living in the Opera House.
Okay, well, I don't know what we can do about it.
Well, they're wildlife, so we get to call them.
Let's get on holder and tell them to control these animals. Besides that, I know that we're making some effort at filling potholes and mitigating street obstacles and such, and that's very encouraging. I thank those who were involved in doing that. But there's so much more that we can do to put our better foot forward and present ourselves. That having been said, I'm done.
Can I just mention one thing that I forgot? I talked to Phil and Greg on this just today. But right now on noise ordinance, I've had complaints. Apparently the noise ordinance only goes from 11 p.m. until 6 a.m. I think I want peace and quiet a lot earlier than 11 p.m. And I've gotten considerable complaints on one specific address. I gave Greg the name of the house. But the police are correctly citing the fact that, well, there's nothing against the law about what they're doing. I think there are a lot of issues at that place, but I think if we could just get them to turn off the big bass speakers, that drive people crazy, that would go a long ways. So, I don't know, maybe we can have this as an agenda item, or?
I think it'd probably be worthwhile to consideration under an ordinance change.
Yeah, I think it's easy. We just say,
Yeah, we
all you have
just
to do is strike those.
We just strike the time period.
Yeah, just strike the time period.
Would you like to see an ordinance that does that?
Sure.
I ought to be enforced, though.
Yeah,
we have
it's hard.
we have ordinance for years, noise ordinance, and that's all you hear around town is boom boxes and stuff. And the other night up by where I live, there's 2 drag races going down by our house. About 14 guys going up the street with boom, 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 booms. You know, you see one cop up there maybe once every 6 months, 5 months, I don't know. Before, when they delivered our packages up there, oh man, it was cool. We see police officers up there all the time, every Friday. Now we don't see very many, one maybe.
Well, and the problem is enforceability. If you have an ordinance, then people's expectations are higher, and they say that guy violated the noise ordinance. Well, that is really hard to prove, because unless someone has like exactly, and you can say, well, that is what the noise level was. You otherwise can't prove how excessive the offensive noise was.
Well, our existing ordinance doesn't have anything about decibels either.
I understand, but it's just that if anyone is loud between those hours when it is, classically is very tranquil and everybody's trying to sleep, almost any loud noise can be presumptively disturbing the peace or violating the noise ordinance because it happened between those hours when people should otherwise be quiet. I have prosecuted those, and it's easy to do between those nighttime hours. But otherwise, if you say that car drove by and it was really loud, and therefore I think it violated the Trinidad noise ordinance.
Oh, I understand. I think I understand that, but I guess we should have something more than this, is what I think.
Okay.
Maybe we can look into other communities.
Sure.
I know Breckenridge has one, it depends on if you're in a commercially zoned area or something like that. It's like a residential area, and you can take a look at how they've drafted it, because they did have one that pertained to commercial and residential areas. But again, if we're going to put some teeth into this, we have to give the tools for our police department to be able to enforce it, which means we would have to have decibel readers in every car.
Right. Yeah.
And they're about $350 to $500 a piece, depending on the quality.
And they have to be on site. I mean, when the offensive noise, like if someone just calls and says that was really loud, they're not going to be able to measure that noise. Right? Yeah.
Is that something that
let's say a homeowner consistently, like you complain that there's a complaint that it's constant, maybe every Wednesday or Thursday or Friday or Saturday, that unit is portable, or they can loan it to the individual to put it outside their house for the reading of the decibels. Is that, I don't know if that's.
Sure.
Isn't that for?
They also, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to speak over you.
No.
Okay, but I was gonna say they could record it. They could record it with their phone. Now, it's not always accurately, like, you know, the phone may be quieter or it may be louder, but they can always record the noise, and we can try to duplicate that. Because you have a lot of people who sleep during the day and will have really noisy next door neighbors right next door, and that can be a problem, and that is something. But anyway, yeah, we can look into that.
Okay, I got a few things, similar to, because Joe and I live not too far from one another. One of the problems that we have up there is that Corundum side, there's like a quarter-mile stretch, and there are people using that as a quarter-mile raceway. And I don't know, you know, if you know, we have that speed sign that can be moved, correct? I think maybe what we ought to do is take and put some of the posts in some of these areas, not only there, but other areas, for this sign to be moved around periodically, and just to let people know that they're being monitored, and if they get caught, they're going to get fined. Because I mean, that quarter-mile stretch, people are traveling.
Even by in front of your house, down by my house, on the curb, there was 2 cars. Just the other day. Oh my God.
And not only that, but the motorbikes, they go up there, the same thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, if we can maybe get some additional posts around town in some of these areas that are being, people are speeding, probably wouldn't be a bad idea to move around. Last week, the Trinidad Community Foundation gave out their awards, and Karen was there and I was there, and just had a little simple event to give out the checks to the people that received the money. And like I said, I also attended the Starburst Award last Friday, and I don't know if you guys looked at that video that they had on.
That's pretty neat.
Wow, I mean,
That was amazing.
that was the video that they had. I think was just, it looked like a golf course up on top of Fisher's Peak. It was so cool. This last weekend I was asked to welcome, there's a square dance group that, this is the second year they come to Trinidad. This is a group of older people, younger people that do square dancing. They were asked to use the Southside Center. And if you would, could you commend Marty and his staff, because they were very high on what they've done for this group. Everything they, anything they asked for, they got. So they did an excellent job. The second year in a row that they've done that. So commend them for the job that they do. The director of the Colorado Department of Transportation, Shoshana Liu, has asked me to be on an advisory group for the planning for the Colorado Department of Transportation upcoming. So I'll be attending my first meeting with them this next Monday. I think it's Monday in Denver. So that would be something that maybe I'll talk to Mike about, see if there's anything in particular that he would like me to bring up. I have some ideas of my own, but there might be something that he's recognized over the years that maybe need brought up. So, and if you have anything that, or any of you in council have any questions, let me know. Email them to me. That was it. Greg?
I just want to make sure everybody knows that we were successful in getting our grant from DOLA, $1 million grant for replacement of the sewer transmission line from the north end of La Puerta to the wastewater treatment plant. So that's going to be a substantial assistance in getting that project done. Now we just have to convince the railroad that it's okay.
By the way, I do have a call in to, like I said, to the BNSF representative. He and I have had a discussion on that. I'll see him again on Friday. Okay. And I'll ask him to see if he's found out any more information about that, because he was going to dig into it further.
Okay. And then I also attended the Starburst Award. I asked the head of the Colorado Lottery if we could get either the video itself or a link to it. It's it's a drone flyover of the entire Fisher's
It's
Peak
on
property.
Facebook right
Yeah.
now, so it's out there.
Okay, it's really impressive, if
Oh,
we could
it
put
is
that on our
beautiful.
website, I think that'd be pretty cool.
Where, I didn't
Want me
see
to,
it.
it's on Facebook, what's it called, a view from the top or
Something like
over
that. I
the
saw
top
it today
or?
too.
Yes, I shared it.
Yeah.
Need to get a TV put up downstairs and have it up there, so. we-
Yeah.
Let me
It's really
Let me see if I
attractive.
can copy it and email it to you, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, that'd be great.
Alright.
I met a week ago with Crystal Dreiling from Trinidad Lake State Park. We came to an agreement that all these people keep talking about, and we keep talking about, creating a connection, a trail connection between the city and the lake, the state park. And we agreed, if we're going to make a connection, we need to start talking to each other. So that was a good meeting. We talked about different things that we could do to create that connection and how it might work in the future and who we're going to have to visit with to make it happen. But the great thing with that is the head of CPW has said that if we can pull this off, it would be the only city with a direct trail connection to a state park.
Wow.
So this would be pretty nice. Then we're in the process of interviewing people for the economic development coordinator position. There's 2 members of the creative district that are on the interview board. The reason that I asked them to be on it is that they are the oversight board for the Space to Create Commons, and one of the duties of this position will be managing the day-to-day rentals, use of that space, that kind of stuff.
And who is it Marilyn and who else?
Aaron?
And Aaron, okay.
I attended my first ARPA board meeting as a board member with Mike, so it was a little bit different conversation this last time instead of just sitting there listening all the time. But there's a lot of things that are happening with ARPA and with Tri-State and with different options we're looking at, and hopefully we can make some headway in the near future here. But it's just seems like the discussion keeps going on and on, so we'll have to see.
That's an ARPA thing. That's,
Yeah. One of the
It's not
things
one
that was
lawsuit, it's another.
one thing that was pointed out to me when we deal with the Fisher's Peak property that we do need to pay attention to from a transportation standpoint, and I brought it up with the other partners in this group, is exit 8, when you get out of the ranch and go north, has such a short on-ramp that there's people that are hitting the interstate at 25, 30 miles an hour. And when you got a semi coming down that hill at close to 70, they don't just come to a stop. And I'm afraid if we don't extend that on-ramp, we're gonna end up with some problems as traffic increases. I can just imagine what would happen if you had someone with a pickup truck and a trailer trying to do that.
Yeah, that is a short one.
So, that's something we're gonna have to pay attention to. I talked to Walt Bolden, and he's gonna put it on the next TPR agenda so that we can get it on the regional plan.
Well, with the governor's in the talk with it being a state park and everything else, I'm sure the state would be involved with CDOT to make that happen.
Yeah,
It
but
should be.
it just has to go through the whole process.
And I'll bring that up on Thursday whenever that meeting.
Okay, that's all I have.
Mayor, council
Last but not
members.
least.
What did you say?
Last but not least.
Yeah, right, thank you. I wanted to mention that on the next work session agenda, I believe we are going to have the consumption club discussion. So I was just thinking, if you have any questions in advance or you would like anything to help in that conversation, please let us know. It looks like, and I don't need to give away the proposed agenda, but it is there are a lot of items on there. So if there's anything we can do to provide you with information.
So Ms. Wagner is attending the meetings on Friday where they're starting the discussions on that, and she's hoping to have a update to us before our work session on Monday.
Good. So it is a work session on Monday? Right, it is Monday.
For us, yeah.
Right, yeah.
Right.
So she hopes to have the information before Monday.
She's gonna be at the meetings on Friday, and she's hoping to either attend with that information or give it to us.
Do I understand, what was that, was it a interim session or committees of the legislature?
I think
Okay.
this one is, trying to do the rules.
Okay.
So this is,
Oh, right.
legislative session is a
Right.
administrative session.
Right, but I will see if there's very much information for her.
Right.
To pass on, but the only other thing I wanted to say on the Hamer versus Trinidad litigation, there aren't many developments other than the fact that the trial court judge is trying to basically have a briefing schedule and having the trial, the retrial go forward as if the petition for cert is not happening. So we'll see what happens once the petition for cert is filed. And I'll let you know. Does that make sense?
No.
Yes.
Okay. The trial court judge is just kind of,
Called cert is when we're trying to get in front of the U.S. Supreme Court.
that's correct, that's
Right,
correct.
now, what has changed?
Nothing has changed other than the trial court judge, when the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals full panel issued their opinion and went back to the trial court.
Oh,
And so the
okay.
trial court judge is just like holding everyone's feet to the fire and wanting to proceed as if nothing is going on the next appellate level. But hopefully all that will be stayed. Our lawyers filed a motion to have the briefing schedule not continue in anticipation of the petition for cert, but right now it's still being required. So when the petition is filed, also hopefully that will require a stay. That's all I have.
Just, let council know, on Monday I won't be able to attend. I'm trying to figure out, I gotta be in Denver on Thursday, I've gotta be in Pueblo Friday for another meeting, I've gotta be in Denver again on Monday. I might have some questions on that particular issue.
Okay.
And I'll look at them and try to get them to you over the weekend, so that you can bring them up for me, if that's all right.
Sure.
I'll have some questions.
You're done? Be fine.
And when are we getting together on Monday?
5 p.m.
Yeah.
What are you doing in Denver?
Let's see, Thursday I gotta be at the CPW, that's what it is, meeting. Friday I gotta be in Southwest Chief of Pueblo. Monday I got that, New Drive Department Transportation meeting. Motion to adjourn. Second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
We're gonna have to roll call.
There you go, Brock.
CPW, how's that for us?
Maybe do it the opposite way.